Nissan has enjoyed a long and fruitful history as a global car brand, and when the company came to America in the 1950s, they attracted a pretty loyal group of enthusiasts with the Z sports car. Now, over the years, Nissan has had their fair shares of ups and downs, and as we start 2020, let's reflect on 2019 because it was just an abysmal year for Nissan. Now, I should say that the rest of the industry was down about 2%. However, Nissan, they were down a rather staggering 10%. So in today's video, let's go over the reasons why. Now, I should clarify that the entire Nissan division was down about 9.9% sales-wise in 2019 versus 2018. If you break it up, Nissan's volume was down about 8.7%, while Infiniti, they were down a rather even more staggering 21%. 21%. Now, I know a lot of you guys love Infinitis. I used to love Infiniti, but if you guys watch a lot of my current Infiniti videos, they're not building the best products right now, so it's pretty easy to understand why their sales have been down so badly. Now let's talk a little bit about the sales figures of the Nissan and Infiniti vehicles, because I want to talk about the few bright spots in the actual sales figures. Now, in the Nissan lineup, the few bright spots are the Altima and the NV and NV200. The Altima managed to stay basically the same. The company moved around 209,000 units, which was the same as they did in 2018, while the NV and NV200 sales were actually up between 10 to 18%. So apparently everybody is buying the commercial vehicles, but still with Nissan only moving around 2,000 or less of those vehicles, it's not exactly a huge moneymaker for the brand. Everything else in Nissan's lineup, including the Rogue, which was once the most popular crossover in America, was down about 15% sales-wise here in America. So clearly there's an issue. When you look at Infiniti, things aren't even that much better. Everything was down in the single or double-digit sales figures, including the QX50, which I drove last year. It's supposed to be a new compact crossover that everybody wants to buy nowadays. Only the QX80 and QX60 was down in the single digits versus the double digits. Some of the Infiniti products were down a staggering like 80% versus the previous year. So that is not a good sign for any car company. It makes me question the future, the longevity of Infiniti. Now, let's compare it to a little bit of the industry. When you look at the two other Japanese stalwarts, Toyota was down only 2% sales-wise, which is basically the same as the industry average. Honda was actually up 0.2% in sales, which isn't all that great, but at least it is up in a continuously downward trend. So why? What gives? What is Nissan doing to do so poorly here in America? Well, myself, I would attribute that to old products. If you look at Nissan's entire lineup, their newest products are the Kicks, the Altima, the Versa, and the new Sentra, which I just drove. The 2020 Versa is parked right beside me, as you can see. The rest of their product lineups are between 4 to 7 years old. This is like the bulk of their lineup, such as the Pathfinder, the Armada, the Rogue Sport, the Maxima. Nissan's lineup is in desperate need of a refresh, and they also have products that are even older. If you look at the Frontier, the GTR, the Nissan 370Z, those are a decade to approaching 2 decades old. So old products obviously are going to be less enticing to shoppers. They're going to be going toward the newer products. A lot of manufacturers nowadays are introducing newer products a lot sooner versus Nissan. So moving on to the next reason why I think Nissan sales figures may be down in 2019 here in America, it has to do with the CVT transmission. More specifically, it's designed and built by Jatco. Now, Nissan has been doing CVTs for quite some time. In fact, they're on their like 4th generation D-step CVT where it mimics gears. They have made improvements to the transmission over the years. Unfortunately, there's a lot of negative press about the CVT when you look online. You can thank YouTubers, certain mechanic YouTubers who constantly call it trash and endless money pit, but you can also attribute that to owners of Nissan vehicles who, have had the CVT Xtronics transmissions and have experienced problems where they had to replace the transmissions early because they failed. Rest assured that Nissan is listening to customer complaints and they are making improvements. So it's hard to say whether the newest generation of their transmissions are also going to be prone to failure like the old ones. As you can see, we are in this 2020 Nissan Versa, which is one of their newest additions this year. This car went on sale about 6 months ago, and it has a CVT transmission, so it's nothing super fancy. So what are the reasons why so many people don't like CVTs. Now, CVTs have always been the transmission hated the most by enthusiasts, simply because they're these, infinite amount of gears. It's basically got this pulley, this rubber bandy effect. Every time you put your foot down, it sends the engine into the high revs portion. And if you pair it with a 4-cylinder like this car with its droney 1.6, which is naturally aspirated, it's torqueless, it tends to just get noisy and buzzy. So it's pretty easy to see why a lot of people don't like the way CVTs feel and drive. They're not for enthusiasts. However, what CVTs are good at are efficiency. So the latest Nissan CVT still will mimic a few gears here and there. And whenever you put your foot down, what I notice about the newer ones is they are relatively responsive. They're pretty good at just kind of adjusting the ratios quickly and putting the engine back into the sweet spot of its rev band. So it's really just a matter of getting used to the transmission. I know it's still not the most ideal setup, but in a car like the Versa, a lot of these cars are switching to CVTs for efficiency, so I can see why, Nissan, actually started the trend earlier, and all the other manufacturers are adopting it. And as you can see here, this is why we don't like CVTs. The buzz that you get from this engine is just awful. Now granted, it's kind of necessary, because if you're gonna actually accelerate in a car that only has 122 horsepower, you're not gonna be going anywhere too quickly in a car like this. And the engine itself also has a lot of drone. It sends vibrations back through the steering wheel, through the pedals, through the shifter. It constantly reminds you that you don't want to push this car, because when you're pushing a car like this with so little power, you feel like you're kind of thrashing the car, which everything else in this segment is kind of like that. But I think something like this with such meager power, a manual transmission makes more sense. It makes the most of the engine's very little power. It's just, manual transmissions are dying. Everybody prefers an automatic. Thankfully, if you drive a CVT more conservatively, you don't really notice it. It has the trademarks of a traditional automatic. Nissan, when you put your foot down, you can see just automatically changes the ratio down. So even though, Jatco doesn't have the best reputation online, it is basically up to par in terms of shift quality and smoothness with other manufacturers' CVTs. I just can't really comment on the longevity of these, because again, I have never owned one. You still cannot predict the long-term reliability of these new Nissan vehicles with their newer CVTs. Now, interiors are also very important with a lot of modern cars today, and unfortunately, Nissan was very behind the times, because a lot of their cars did not include the modern tech that a lot of young people want, which is Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. We want that modern phone integration. If you look at Infiniti, they didn't even have that until this year. 2019 really is when Nissan started adding it. 2020, Nissan is promising, or Infiniti is promising, that all their cars will have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Build quality is also an important consideration for a lot of buyers, and previously, Nissan was basically falling behind there, because a lot of owners were reporting problems with, interior quality, rattling, just poor reliability. So Nissan is listening to customer complaints, and they will be making some adjustments for their future products. Another area where Nissans are kind of becoming less appealing, aside from prop rods that aren't properly secured when I open them, are underpowered vehicles. Now granted, this 2020 Versa isn't exactly fair. The segment of subcompact vehicles are kind of slow in general, but if you look at the rest of the trend, Nissan has been kind of downgrading the horsepower. They've been discontinuing the 6-cylinder in some of their options. Their 4-cylinders are producing less power, but they're getting better fuel economy. And really, slow performance is not what people want nowadays, especially when we have electric cars with their instant torque and how fast they accelerate. This also goes back to CVTs. Most Nissans have an automatic transmission that is a CVT built by Jatco. Unless you guys go for their trucks, which use a conventional stepped automatic. Infiniti also uses stepped automatic. A lot of people don't like where Nissan is going with their engine performance, and I'm hoping that the company starts to rectify that for future products. Another reason why Nissan is probably doing so poorly has to do with poor decisions on the corporate side, especially with Nissan's CEO. The company actually had to shut down operations in North America on the corporate side for 2 days this month in order to save money, and that doesn't look good to a lot of shareholders, to a lot of employees, and to a lot of consumers. So although Nissan seems to have hit rock bottom, thankfully the company is making a lot of changes in the coming years to try to rectify everything. So what you're probably wondering, what is the future of Nissan and Infiniti? Well, there are several key aspects that Nissan said they are going to be doing in the next couple of years. The most important one, of course, are new products. We have about 10 new products coming in the next 24 months. The 2020 Versa is one of them, in addition to the Sentra. Nissan is promising to completely overhaul their lineup very soon. Electrification is also a key improvement that Nissan is making. They're basically saying that every 2021 Infiniti model that will be introduced will either be a hybrid or be electrified or be a full EV. Nissan basically said they are going to be introducing internal combustion engines that are going to power or recharge the batteries of their electric vehicles. So we basically have onboard generators or gas engines serving as generators for electric cars, which I'm not entirely sure that's where the industry needs to go. Everybody is all about full EVs that can go 300 plus miles of range because of Tesla. So it's interesting to see Nissan using an internal combustion engine to basically recharge the battery of their full electric cars. Another area where things are improving at Nissan is their interior. The tech is really starting to improve. Even that cheap Versa over there has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and you can also get Nissan Safety Shield 360 and the styling of their cars. I actually really like the design of the new Versa, the new Altima, especially the new Sentra, so I'm very much looking forward to what the Nissan design team is going to be putting out in the next 24 months. So after talking about the few bright spots in Nissan's future plans to kind of get themselves out of the hole, and as the sun sets on the mistakes of Nissan's past, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of Nissan and Infiniti? Will the company bounce back from this? I mean, abysmal sales of 10% drops in 2019 is not something that any executive wants to hear. And quite frankly, as an enthusiast, I'm also a little bit sad because I actually really like Nissan. I loved Nissan and Infiniti a lot when I was in high school, and it's really sad to see the company fall so low. And I really want to see them shine again because they build great products. They have built reliable products in the past. They have built sporty and fun to drive products in the past. So it would really be awesome to see the company actually go the electrified route, add more impressive tech, and also make the cars much more fun to drive, because I think that's really where everybody wants the industry to go for cars in general, in addition to electrification and of course self-driving. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.